rules in adding integers. So here, we will learn how to add two integers. So the rules in adding integers is divided into two sets. Adding two integers with the same signs, or adding two integers with different signs. So let's start with our first one, which is all about adding two integers with the same signs. Again, I am emphasizing that this rule will be applicable if there are two integers. I repeat, two integers, not three or more, because the case would be different. So we will be doing it two numbers at a time. So when two integers have the same sign, the first thing that you need to do is to add the absolute values of the numbers. Remember, the absolute value of a number is always positive because we're pertaining to the distance. And there's no such thing as negative distance. And the second one is to keep the same sign. So actually in step one, you can think of it as if you are just ignoring the signs. You just have to add, and then afterwards, keep the same sign. So for 5 plus 2, 5 plus 2 is 7, but both are positive. So the final answer would be positive 7. Here in our second one, both are negative, but we need to ignore the signs, just add them, or get the absolute values of each numbers, which is 5 and 2. 5 plus 2 is 7. But again, the last step, keep the same sign. Both are negative, so the final answer is negative 7. What if the two numbers, they have different signs? That means that you need to follow another rule. Just like for example here, negative 2 plus 5, one is negative, which is negative 2, and the other one is positive, which is a positive 5. Okay, so what do we do now? First step is to subtract the absolute values of the numbers. As I was saying before, absolute value of a number is always positive. So just ignore the sign. So think of it as if we're dealing with the same numbers in grade school. Like we're dealing with positive numbers all the time. But you need to subtract them instead of adding. And then last is to keep the sign of the number with the larger absolute value. So to better understand the two steps, let's consider negative 2 plus 5. So as I was saying a while ago, they have different signs. So you need to subtract first. 5 minus 2 is 3. And then afterwards, keep the sign of the number with the larger absolute value. When you try to get the absolute value of 5, that's a 5. The absolute value of negative 2 is 2. If you will try to compare 5 and 2, 5 is greater than a 2. Or we can say 2 is less than a 5. 5 is greater, that means we need to follow its sign, which is positive. So the final answer is positive 3. If the given is negative 5 plus 2, again, first rule is to get the absolute value of each number and subtract them. Absolute value of negative 5 is 5. Absolute value of 2 is a 2. 5 minus 2 is 3. But 5 is greater than a 2. So that means you have to follow the sign of the 5, which is originally a negative 5. So that means you just have to write 3 and then add the negative sign. So the final answer is negative 3. Let's try some examples. So we have here -3 plus -6, and they have the same signs. So what do we do here? Just add the absolute value of each numbers, which is 3 plus 6. 3 plus 6 is 9. And then, so we put 9 here already as an answer, but don't forget the last step. Keep the common sign. Both are negative, so negative. So the answer is -9. Next, -7 plus 5. Negative, this is positive. So we follow the rules in adding integers with different signs. We need to subtract the absolute value of each numbers. The absolute value of -7 is 7. Absolute value of 5 is 5. 7 minus 5 is equal to 2. And then if we compare the absolute value of each numbers, 7 is greater than a 5. So we must follow the original sign of the 7, which is negative. So -2. So again, we just copied the 2 in here, and then it's negative because 7 is greater than a 5, and originally it's negative. So the answer now is -2. How about -20 plus -18? They have the same signs, right? Both are negative. That means you need to add the absolute value of the two numbers, which is 20 and 18. 20 plus 18 is 38. Then, put 38 here as your answer already, but don't forget that they are both negative. So keep the same sign. So the answer is -38. Okay, let's have our last example. So we have here -525 plus 600. This is positive, this is negative. So we need to follow the rules in adding integers with different signs. First, we need to get the absolute value of each number, which will give us 525 and 600. And then, the next step is to subtract 600 by 525. So 600 minus 525 is 75. Okay, now, based from the given, 525, 600, which one is greater? It is 600, right? So we follow the sign of the 600, which is originally positive. So that means the final answer is a positive 75.